Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the Zoya Party Girls collection for holiday 2017. There are 12 polishes here altogether. These are available right now, so I will link the Zoya website down below and I'll get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Kelsey, and this is a pink cream. So this one is just a little bit uneven on that first coat. It's pretty opaque, I just have dark spots. Really good formula on this one. So 2 coats does cover completely on this one. I do feel like it dried a bit more even than it was when it was wet. And it evened out, but then it dried a little bit more sheer. So you'll definitely need that second coat. And I can feel right now that my hands are very unsteady right now. So the swatching in this video might be a bit of a wild ride. So that is 2 coats of Kelsey. So the next polish is called Solstice, and this is described by Zoya as a sparkling persimmon orange metallic. To me, this looks like more of a coral with a slight pink shimmer. So this one is also a little bit sheer on that first coat. It is really packed with shimmer though. This is one of the few polishes I think I've seen that has more shimmer on the nail than it does in the bottle. And a really good formula on this one. So this one does cover completely in person in 2. There were a couple polishes in this collection that I noticed covered completely in person, but then when I took my pictures, I had a little bit of nail line showing, and this is one of them. So for me, it's good in 2 in person, but you will probably be able to see a little bit of nail line in the picture. Sometimes some polishes, usually it happens with blues, but some polishes tend to photograph a little more sheer than they look in real life. So that is 2 coats of Solstice. The next polish is Danielle, and this is described as a deep, dark periwinkle cream. So this is super opaque on that first coat, but I do have a couple of uneven spots. I think this is one that after it's been used a few times, you shouldn't have a problem getting it opaque in one. And again, really good formula. So 2 coats does cover completely with this one, and I am just looking at the viewfinder right now. I always end up a little bit more disappointed when I get to the actual footage on the computer, but it looks like this polish is showing up really true to color, which is surprising because usually shades like this don't show up like that at all. These kind of colors and neons are some of the hardest ones to get to show up accurately. So that is 2 coats of Danielle. The next polish is called Ming, and this is described as a mid-tone scarlet red cream. This one does lean a bit on the jelly side, so it's even, but it's a bit sheer on that first coat. This was another polish that looked completely opaque to me in person in 2 coats, but definitely photographed more sheer. And a really good formula on this one as well. So in person, this one does cover completely in 2 coats, and that second coat does deepen the color quite a bit. And since this has more of a jelly finish, it does dry very shiny. So that is 2 coats of Ming. The next polish is called Sheri, and this is described as a mid-tone garnet red cream. And this one is also a bit jelly-like, so it is sheer on the first coat. If I'm remembering correctly, this was another one, and I think the last one that also photographed a bit more sheer than it was in person. And good formula on this one as well. So in person, this one does cover the nail line in 2 coats. You can see that second coat does deepen the color quite a bit. And because this one has a bit more of a jelly finish, it also dries very shiny. Okay, I decided to come back and do a 3rd coat of this one. I don't need it for the coverage, but I tried to fix a smudge here on my pointer finger and ended up with a much thicker coat. And the color looks a lot darker than the rest of the polishes. So I'm going to do a 3rd coat here just to show how much more it can deepen up, which I probably wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't messed up my pointer finger and ended up with more polish there. And actually, even with this 3rd coat, because I added a 3rd coat to the already thick pointer finger, it still doesn't match in color. I probably should have left that one alone so that it could have been even and just put a 3rd coat on the other 3 nails, but I'm not going to keep going, obviously, but I did want to show that it can deepen up quite a bit with a 3rd coat. So that is 3 coats, or maybe 3.5, depending on what you're looking at, of Sheri. The next polish is called Landon, and this is described as a deep aubergine cream. So this one is a bit sheer on the first coat, but not bad. I am looking at the Zoya website as I do this, and a few of the promo pictures on the website do look a lot darker than what I'm looking at in person, and this is one of them. Really good formula on this one. So this one does cover completely in 2, and it also dries very shiny. And I'm painting my nails so slow right now because I'm trying really hard not to mess up. I'm really unsteady at the moment. So that is 2 coats of Landon. The next polish is called Nadia, and this is described as a buildable, sparkling, gingery gold metallic disco topper. Now, that's actually really funny because that's the first time that I've read that description, and when I was swatching these yesterday, I thought that this and the next sparkly one were going to be a lot more opaque than they were, and I was a little bummed. And then I started trying to talk myself out of being bummed by saying, yeah, but I could use it as a topper, and now reading the Zoya website, that's exactly what they're saying also. This definitely has that gingery gold sparkle that they described, but it also has a bit of pink sparkle that I'm seeing as well. And even though it is sheer, the formula is really good. And it does apply evenly, which is what you want to look for in a polish that could double as a topper. Anyway, if it didn't apply evenly, then there'd be no point using it as a topper. So this one does start to build up in 2 coats, but it does build up slowly. The next polish that I'm going to swatch that's a little bit darker, I find that one builds up a lot better than this one does. I can still see a bit of nail line here, so I'm going to add a 3rd coat. So 3 coats is where I top out here. If you squint and shift and really look hard, you can make out your nail line in 3 coats, but it is not easy to find. And this is not a glitter, so it's not going to stick to the nail or dry textured. So that is 3 coats of Nadia. The next polish is called Tawny, and this is described as a deep coppery rose sparkling metallic. So this one is also pretty sheer on that first coat. It is in a slightly colored base where the last one seemed like it was in a clear base. So that does help this one build up a little bit better. The description doesn't say anything about being able to use this one as a topper like it did for the last one, but it applies evenly just like the last one, so I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. With the tinted base, you just have to be a little more choosy about what colors you put it over. So this one does start to build up a bit more on that second coat, but for full coverage I'm going to do 3. If you have really short nails and not a lot of nail line, you might not need that 3rd coat though. And like the last one, this is not a glitter, so it's not going to dry textured at all and it won't be difficult to remove. So this does cover completely in 3 coats, and that 3rd coat does seem to deepen it a bit, and this does dry shiny. So that is 3 coats of Tawny. The next polish is called Fallon, and this is described as a refined pearl midtone violet magenta. So this is pretty nicely opaque on the first coat. I think it's a little bit lighter than it should be, and I can see my nail line a little bit. If I look closely, I can see some brush strokes through the shimmer when it's wet, but the shimmer is so close to the color of the actual polish that it doesn't stand out like it would with like a really frosty, pearlized polish. Great formula on this one. And this one does cover completely in 2 coats. And that second coat does deepen the color a bit. Those brush strokes that were in that shimmer do seem to have gone away as it dried. And because the shimmer is so close to the actual polished color, it really just adds a nice glow to the whole polish. So that is 2 coats of Fallon. The next polish is called Isadora, and this is described as a refined pearl magenta plum. So this one is also a little bit sheer, a little bit lighter than it should be on the first coat. The shimmer in here is nice and smooth as well. I don't really see any brush strokes through it, even when it's wet. The formula I feel like is a little bit thinner than most of the other ones have been in the collection. It's not too thin, but you do have to watch some of those drips down the stem of the brush. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats, and it does deepen the color. I feel like with that second coat on and the color a bit deeper, I can now see a few brush strokes through that shimmer when it's wet, but they are very minor and they do go away when it dries. So that is 2 coats of Isadora. The next polish is called Delaney, and this is described as a royal, multichromatic, pewter blue, purple, green, metallic flip. And this is a really interesting multichrome polish. It's not colors that I'm used to seeing shifting into each other. Usually multichromes are just one of a very small handful of color shifts, and this is not one that I've seen before. So this is a little sheer on that first coat. It is going to need 2 coats, but it does build up well. It's not the shiftiest polish ever. It's going to look purple from most angles, but you can catch a few of the other colors on the corners once everything is built up. On the corners, on the edges, somewhere around the end. So this does build up well and cover completely in 2. You do get some brush strokes, They're not terrible, but you definitely want to make sure that you're doing your strokes as straight as possible. And am I imagining things, or did this dry a little bit darker purple than applied? I'm going to have to go back and look at my footage. I feel like once my alarm went off and I looked down, it was darker. And this does dry shiny as well. And if I do one of these, you can catch that shift a little bit. You can just kind of see it on the edges of the nail and from more extreme angles. So that is 2 coats of Delaney. And the last polish is called Blake, and this is a very deep blue with a gold shimmer. So this one is pretty opaque on that first coat, but I do feel like the color's not quite as dark as it should be. It does cover very evenly though. The shimmer stands out pretty nicely. I feel like it's a little bit stronger in the bottle, but it does still show up pretty well on the nail. And the formula is really good. So this one does cover completely in 2, and that second coat does deepen it quite a bit. Makes it almost a little bit difficult to tell that it's blue. I definitely feel like I lost a bit of the shimmer as the first coat dried. With it darker on the second coat, it does stand out pretty well again, but it definitely seems like there's a bit less now that that first coat is dry. So I let this second coat dry fully so I could really get a good look at it, and I do feel, and I could be totally imagining this, but I do feel like you'll lose a little bit of that shimmer after it's fully dry. The second coat didn't look nearly as drastic to me as the first coat did, but I still feel like I lost a little bit of it. So that is 2 coats of Blake. I've filmed a bunch of swatch video intros today, and I think only a handful of them, maybe even one of them, I've only picked one polish for. I'm really torn on all these collections. So I really like Tawny. It is shifty and warm and fiery, and it's got that metallic shimmer to it. I like this one a lot. I also really like Delaney because it's a multi-chrome polish, but it's not a color of multi-chrome that I can think of seeing before. It's just purple, blue, green. But I feel like the shades of purple, blue, and green are a little bit different than what we're used to seeing, so this did stand out to me as a little bit different. I like Delaney as well. So that is the Zoya Party Girls collection for holiday 2017. Again, I will link the Zoya website down below. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.